Hello everybody, my name is Ryvetcha and I'm here with another second channel video doing some predictions about Pokemon Legends ZA. Now obviously my previous video that I released predicting what the starters would be for Legends ZA did not age well at all. However, I am still perfectly excited for the starter trio that we did get, even though it is a bit odd that they chose two starters from a single generation. But, I kind of like that fact because it goes to show that Game Freak, with this Legends series, is taking unexpected choices and brave new decisions. And, and they're really not afraid to go against previous trends and just, do whatever they want, which is a good thing. So, even though the starters have been revealed, there is still a big question mark regarding them, what their final forms are going to be like. Now, I'm making this video under the assumption that these starters will get regional final forms. It's entirely possible that they don't and they just have their normal forms, but they get mega evolutions. However, I have a feeling that's not going to happen. I feel like regional final forms are going to be the case, especially considering that we didn't see the final forms in the trailer that revealed the starters. I feel like if they were just going to keep their regular forms but have megas, they would show regular Meganium, regular Emboar, and regular Feraligatr, and then maybe tease megas for them. But the fact that they only showed the first stage makes me think that they're going to have regional final forms. So what types will these regional final forms be? So previously in my prior prediction video, I predicted that the final starters would be based on RPG classes, kind of how the original Kalos starters were based on RPG classes. Now that could still be the case for this new trio of Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig. Chikorita fits the healer class pretty well, especially Meganium. Totodile, Croconaw, Feraligatr, those guys are textbook barbarians. You don't even have to change anything about them for them to fit the barbarian class. And then the Tepig line is a bit harder to pin down, but I'm sure, especially with the regional form that changes the final form a little bit, you could make it fit into a specific RPG class. However, I do want to take another direction for this video. So, as we saw in the trailer, Pokemon Legends ZA does not take place in the past, but actually the present in the 2020s, around 10 years after Pokemon X and Y. And the game takes place entirely within Lumio City, and is basically focused on the redevelopment and urban planning of this new renovated Lumio City. So, I think that the starters should also take inspiration from this urban redevelopment theme, and that each of the starters should be based on stuff that cities need in order to function. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what these final starter types will be. So first up, we have got Chikorita. Now I know what you all are thinking, oh, Chikorita Meganium is going to get a regional Collision Meganium that's Grass Fairy type, and people have already provided evidence for this, seeing that Chikorita now knows the move Echoed Voice that we saw in the trailer, which is a fairy type move it didn't know before. And, honestly, this is perfectly reasonable, but I also think it's pretty boring. Like, regular Meganium already looks like it could be a fairy type, so I feel like a fairy version of Meganium wouldn't change too much. And it's also a really expected direction to take the line in. And the cool thing about regional forms is when they take the original Pokemon and make them go in a brand new direction design-wise. So that's really what I want to see out of these regional starter forms, something that's totally unique, totally different from the original. So with that in mind, let's think of a new typing for Collision Meganium. Now, what does every city need, every modern city need in order to function? That's electricity. And in the real world right now, many places across the globe are renovating to renewable energy. They're going from the old forms of, fossil fuels and stuff like that to new energy like solar power, to wind power, to hydropower. And I feel like Collision Meganium, which would now be grass electric type, could represent this concept of green energy very well. It kind of fits perfectly with the themes of the game, with the game being about renovating Lumio City to be more integrated and more accepting to harmony between humans and Pokemon being a stand-in for the environment. And what is more representative of humans being in harmony with the environment, both existing at the same time while thriving, then green energy, where humans can power our lifestyles with electricity that's not harmful to the environment. So Meganium's green energy theme and giving it the grass electric typing would be a perfect fit for Pokemon Legends ZA. And obviously it would gain a lot of electric type moves. And for abilities, I think we can go all in with the renewable energy theme and give it either solar power, which I believe raises special attack in harsh sunlight, which, once again, just the name itself fits the theme perfectly. Or we can even go with wind power, which I think would be a little bit better for Meganium, would synergize with it a bit better. I believe that ability raises your special attack or just raises the power of your electric type moves when being hit by a wind-based move, which I think would be better for Meganium. So I think either of those abilities would fit well for Collision Meganium. Next up, we have Collision Emboar. Now this one was, I believe, the toughest of the three in order to figure out something for. However, I did settle on this. Every city needs food for its citizens. They need to feed their people, and I think Collision Emboar could fit this theme by kind of being a chef. Now there's a bit of irony here since Emboar is a pig, and pigs are typically the ones being served as food, as many people kill and eat them. However, Collision Emboar also being a chef could kind of flip that on its head, and I think we can give it the Fire Steel typing. And this is a really fun and unique typing. I believe it's only been on Heatran before, and we are long overdue for another Fire Steel type. And of course, it gets this Steel typing because, as a chef, it's now working with very sharp tools like knives, like forks, stuff like that. So I think Steel typing would fit very well with it. And it would also be fun giving it this unique typing because, as we know, regular Emboar is the third firefighting type in a row, which kind of made it a failure at launch. People really didn't like the fact that it was basically repeating the past two generations of typings. So giving it the Fire Steel typing, which is a very unique typing, would actually give Emboar the justice it deserves. Many people would actually be excited to use him. I think one possible ability could be Sharpness. Kind of boring, but Emboar is a chef in this version, and he would be working a lot with knives, and of course, a good chef always makes sure that his knives are sharp. However, this would only work if Emboar gets a lot of slicing moves and perhaps a new fire type move that's like a slicing thing. But another ability, if that doesn't pan out, could just be Gluttony, which, once again, it fits the chef theme. And finally, we have Collision Feraligatr. Now, for this typing, I actually took inspiration from the real world. Apparently in 1984, firefighters in Paris found a crocodile living in the sewers of the city. And this is a really funny and wacky story, considering that Lumio City, which is kind of the main focus of Pokemon Legends ZA, is based on Paris, and the fact that we have a crocodile starter in Lumio City makes me think that it should be based on these sewer alligator. It's just a perfect connection there. And lucky for us, sewers actually fit the theme of city renovation and city infrastructure very well. Every good city needs a sewer to run properly. I mean, without it, our lives would get much more tougher. And it also needs, functioning water systems and all that. I feel like the Totodile line could play into that pretty perfectly. And so for Collision Feraligatr, based on the infrastructure that sewers provide, would be a water poison typing. And, I feel like the typing kind of fits Feraligatr pretty well. It's not as obvious as Water Dark or Water Dragon like many are saying, but it also kind of fits the vibe of Feraligatr. And, with changing Feraligatr up a little bit, you can give it that poison typing. And as for abilities, I've got a couple of ideas. First, we could give it Filter, which is a defensive ability that I think reduces super effective damage by 25%. So that would be a great defensive ability for Feraligatr. And it also fits that water infrastructure theme, kind of filtering out dirty water and giving us clean water. I think that other abilities that could work with a water poison type Feraligatr could be Poison Heal or Merciless, which Merciless basically makes all hits against an enemy critical hits if they're poisoned, which definitely does fit with Feraligatr's personality. So yeah, that is all. So what do you think about what I want the Kalos Final Starter Evolution typings to be? Do you think these are good regional typings for these Pokemon? And do you like the theme of the starters being tied to city and urban development? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.